I have built a game inside of Airtable Custom Interfaces. And the purpose of that was not just fun and entertainment, and yes, there's the leaderboard, and yes, you can win, but really the purpose of that was to showcase what can you do with custom interfaces and Airtable AI, and how far you can push those two to give you some pretty impressive results. So stick around and I'll show you how all this is put together and how this was built. Okay, so let me first start with the walkthrough for the game. We will reset to the start. The game is called Heroes of No-Code Might and AI Magic. So let's start the game from the scratch. We have a simple game configurator. We can choose our avatar. We can choose our consultant class. And you can see that it is a slightly ironic take on the no-code consultant industry where I myself belong. Yeah, but once we start, we basically get our avatar and we get to explore a map. And we have about 19 turns to start with. On this specific map, we encounter different guardians and different, let's say, events and so on. So for this one, I will ignore this, Netflix and chill. I'll just show you some of the positive or negative events. Okay, so you can see here I have encountered an event. This event deducted 1000 AI credits from my score. I have 0, so I didn't lose anything. And as you can see, I'm moving on the map. Each tile on the map has either a different base tile or a different event that is visible over there. So you can see that as I progress, we basically have the counter going down, the values would reset in certain amount of time. We also are gathering different resources such as money, such as AI credits and so on. Some of the locations, for example, location guarded here, make.com automation, this is guarded by a guardian. In this case, this guardian is called Spreadsheet Hell. So we have two options. We can Netflix and chill, or we can start a fight. If we are executing a fight, we can select either our specific response to fight this, or we can just select the pre-selected prompt here. And actually what is happening in the background is live AI inference, which is happening in your base. So if you go to the link in the description below, you actually see that we have a player over here and we have a field that is executing GPT AI inference over here. So when I come back, you can see that I actually have won, and yeah, I have defeated that guardian over here. I have won 24 patients. So you can see that as I'm progressing, my score is being updated. You can see, let me do another fight over here. So let's say relax. And at the background, you can see that this field is being updated and it's actually generating a response. I purposely obfuscated what is the actual prompt behind and so on. This is just for the sake of, you can play this game, and actually I wanted gently obfuscated how the AI logic is. Okay, in this case we weren't able to win. I wanted to slightly obfuscate the logic how this is being created. You can actually create this, you can actually copy this base and play the game yourself, and what you will get is the table player, which will be initially empty, and then you will get a table with map, and the map will contain the data for the tiles and for the events and for the potential enemies over there. So let's go back over here. So you can see that the tiles would be consisting either of the ground level, or they would be consisting out of an event like this, like an invoice, no-code startup, or some of them has this shield that would be the monster guarding that. And now you can see that here we are providing all those assets and so on, but obviously I did not generate those assets by hand. All of those assets were created at scale inside of Airtable. So here you can see my master base that I used to create it. And by the way, what players see over here, if you copy this base, this is pretty much a shared view that you will find over here. So this is shared view with the tile description and with like only those specific items that I want the players to see. But the actual map is consisting out of description, enemy strength, and you can see that each tile is linking to terrain tiles, event tiles, and then enemies. So once we look at the terrain tile, you can see that I'm using AI to generate this specific tile that is being visible on the map. And you can see that I have been doing like a couple of different iterations, and all of those would be taking the same prompt. So you can see that here, the prompt is generate image to match the prompt coming from here, but I'm also using the shape as a reference over here. And what was important for me with providing this shape reference was this sort of diamond shape geometric layout to have a reference for how the lines are being drawn on the tiles, to make sure that they all nicely fit together on the map, and they have this triangle shape. So this is one part, and you can see that the prompt is pretty much the same with slight variation towards the end, what is exactly the surface. So on some of them it says surface is anti-static metal grid, some of them it says that the surface is uniform urban gray asphalt, on another one it says it's floor, and so on. You can see different descriptions, and then in a similar way I have generated almost 90 different types of events, and you can see that all those tiles here, once I got to the graphic shape that I wanted, you can see that pretty much here we are having a generic description that gives the style of this asset. We are saying that this is a PNG. It should be on a transparent background. Here we are also specifying this in output options that we want a PNG, because that's the format that allows this. So here we have a specification that it should be isometric, 3/4 top-down angle, and so on. Background must be transparent. So we describe this general style, and then we feed into this a specific prompt. We say, for example, a laptop with a beach towel. And we say a forgottenmake.com workspace, and so on. So like all the jokey thing, AI model, and so on. So you can see this way, just we vary the prompt, but the core of the prompt is the same. That is why the images are so consistent. That's why they all look more or less the same style, and so on, even though they're presenting different items. And the same way, we have achieved all the other enemies and so on. So we also have this general prompt, which is actually the same one as we use for the tiles, but we have a different description of what it should be representing. So this way we were able to get this common graphical theme. And then on this grid, which contains about 400 different tiles, this way we were able to mix and match and put different items together, move them around, and basically get a fully interactive 3D world. The code itself, it's a fully custom built coded interface. Like you could attempt to build something like this with Omni and so on, but that would be hard. So I'm just warning that this is developed code with multiple properties going in. The main issue is that it's just execution of the game logic and making sure that it reacts exactly the way I want. And when we move to the next tile, the past tile gets grayed out and it doesn't have event and so on. It's not too complicated. It is just a lot of game logic that would have to be added, and it works better if you separate this into specific files. So you can see that this is actually quite a big project, built with cloud code to a big extent, but again, there's quite a bit of game logic in different files, so it works much better if you separate it into multiple files. Then the game logic gets much easier for the AI agent to understand what is going on, especially when we do different game logic for different tiles and different side effects for different and wind condition and so on. So yeah, so that's the game. If you would like to test it out, then go ahead. There's a link in the description to the video. If you would like to have a custom interface that actually does something that is more useful for your business, do reach out to us and we'll be happy to assist you. Have a fantastic day, guys. Bye.